Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got question Chase, has got the facts, talking NFL numbers, he's got your back. A little chart trend ball, man, he's got it like that. Chasing data by do champions. Chasing data applies to everyone. Chasing data, yeah, we're live today. Chasing data for always. Chasing data by do champions.
What's up, and welcome to the divisional round of Chasing Data. We are going to go through all the games that happened in wildcard weekend and discuss what we have for the divisional round. With that said, we'll get straight into what happened past weekend. Finally down to the final 8 teams. Let's start with the wild card round, which was the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Carolina Panthers. So this game was probably closer than it ever should have been, honestly. Um, Matthew Stafford played well. He did have one interception. Bryce Young, he had his ups and downs. His offense is kind of limited on what they do. They did take the lead late. Um, they did take the lead late, the Panthers, but then gave it up as time expired. With, what was it, 2:34 left in the game, the Panthers had a 70% win rate. Jalen Cook had a coming out party, 134 yards. Rico Dowdle seems to be on his way out of Carolina. He spoke after the game, basically saying he's been tweeting, saying that numbers basically are not in his favor. But with that said, the Rams are taking on the Bears. This is the second consecutive season and the third time in 5 seasons since they traded for Matthew Stafford that they have now made it to the division round. First time since 1978, 79, since the Rams have consecutive playoff wins, consecutive seasons of playoff wins. And the Panthers ended their season on a 3-game losing streak. They lost week 17, week 18, and then in the wild card. So a lot to be said about the Panthers. They're going into next season. Bryce Young, they picked up his fifth-year option. So they seem to be trying to move forward with him for another year, or 2 years. He's going into his 4th year next year. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. He plays well enough at times. It's going to be if he can take another step forward. Obviously, the defense improved a ton for Carolina. In 2024, they were last or next to last in almost every defensive category. And then this year, they jumped up to around 20th to 25th in most categories. With that said, they gave them an opportunity to compete in games and have an opportunity to win those games. The defense wasn't put into a terrible situation from the offense and vice versa. The defense did keep them in the game at times. It was led by Jason Horn, who we already knew was their best player going into the season with a new contract, and Mike Jackson, who had a come-out party as well. He played much better down the stretch of the season, and they actually have something to look forward to going into next year. They have Bryce Young, obviously, under center, and then they have Ted McMillan, who's a wide receiver 1, and Jalen Coker as well. Landon, yes. These 4 upcoming games are all going to be close. We started off really well with the wild card weekend, and then it just kind of fell apart as we got farther and farther into it, ending with the Chargers, Patriots, and then the Steelers, Texans, which was really terrible. Good Seahawks, yes. I think they have the best chance, depending on what Sam Darnold can do. But back to the Panthers. They have their wide receiver 1 and 2. They have their top 2 receivers. We have Chuba Hubbard. I don't think Rico Dowdle will be back for another season. Um, I'm hoping that Marshawn does not get it. I want someone new. I mean, they would be new as well, but someone else that we don't know. Like, I mean, the Bills are the most expected team, maybe outside the Eagles, who have already lost two in the Super Bowl. But back to the Panthers. Like I said, they can build on their defense even more. Uh, so looking at their offseason for the Panthers, like I said, they still have some key players that can bring back. They're bringing back the likes of Bryce Young, the entire O line, which is very important to this team, as we all know. Ted McMillan, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Mike Jackson. Uh, they could be losing Rico Dowdle. Some of the offensive line with the majority is coming back. They just have to continue to improve this defense. They went from 32nd to 20th in efficiency as far as EPA allowed per play. They were 28th in sacks, so it's still an area that they have to improve. They did draft two defensive linemen this year. Nick Gordon looked good at times, but they still can improve. And they have to build in the draft. They had all their picks, plus Minnesota's picks, and a pick from that Adam. So that's the Panthers. A great season by most accounts. What they could do in 2025. When you look at the Rams and what they did in this game, I mean, they're still just going to be unstoppable. Devontae Adams didn't even really do much in this game. What did he have? He had 5% into it. They did not have much of a run game. And now that they're going up against the Chicago Bears, I expect the Los Angeles Rams to run all over the Chicago Bears. Defense is the worst efficiency rating as far as EPA allowed per rush in the NFL. With that said, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum are going to have a field day versus the Chicago Bears, who lost another linebacker in this game against the Packers in the wild card round. We'll talk about the Bears and the Packers in a moment, but the Rams and the Panthers, I mean, the Rams and the Bears going into this game, I mean, the clear favorite has to be the Los Angeles Rams. They're 3.5 point favorites. It's in Chicago. It doesn't really explain it. No Matthew Stafford is going to come out and play lights out more than likely. Defense in Chicago, right? It's going to be a high scoring game. We know Ben Johnson's going to have the first quarter scripted basically for Caleb Williams. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we know Puka Nacua is going to get his no matter what. He had a season high 18 targets versus the Panthers. I expect more of the same against the Bears, regardless of who's matched up on him. He had 10 receptions for 111 in the first round. And that was against zone coverage. He had most of it was against zone coverage, where he had 10 of his uh, all 10 of his receptions were against the zone. And 9 of the 10 were seam routes, or routes up the seam, I should say. He also had a carry for a touchdown, which was basically a backwards pass. This Rams and the Panthers. Going to the next game of the wild card round. We had the Packers and the Bears. This game came down to the end. I mean, the Packers, the first half was what, 21-3 at halftime. Hurts Kurt is going to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It would be interesting. If he wins the championship, what else? I mean, there's a lot to do in college football, but does he just go and take that next step? Because he's not going to give him more love than what he's getting right now. I mean, let's give him 2 or 3 out of the next 5 national championships. He's the hottest name in college football. Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears. Chicago came back miraculously after a terrible first half. Caleb Williams ended up with 361 yards. One of the best games as far as him being able to play in a clutch manner coming down the stretch. The run game was non-existent, being that they had one of the best run games in the NFL coming into the playoffs. I mean, DeAndre Swift led him with 54 yards. Then Kyle Mononga had 27. I mean, those two together usually have 150 easily, and they only had 81 in this game on about 3.7 yards per carry. With that said, I mean, like I said, Romeo Dobbs, he came out, he played well. I mean, what kept the Packers from winning was, I mean, it's just like they flipped the switch completely in the second half. Who wins, Niners or Seahawks? I know this is a cop out answer, but it really depends on what Sam Darnold does. We know that the Seahawks defense is probably the second best defense in the NFL, behind the Texans and above the Broncos. But Sam Darnold has to play at least average football. If he plays average football or better, they win the game. If he does not, then we saw what the San Francisco 49ers could do. I mean, that offense, I mean, they have a top five offense, but where does it go with no George Kittle at this point? No George Kittle tends to affect them negatively, obviously. We know that the San Francisco 49ers can pretty much plug and play any player. I know Tunges is going to be in there at tight end, and we'll see how that affects things, how much of a drop off they have with him versus George Kittle. But like I said, we've seen it time and again all season long. We've had the likes of Marcus Robinson who went off last week. You have Kendrick Bourne who went off against the Rams earlier in the season with Mac Jones. And then you still have Juwan Jennings at any point. Juwan Jennings could go off. Uh, with that said, Christian McCaffrey's going to be the focal point. Not really the offense. San Francisco's offense versus Seattle's defense doesn't really intrigue me as much as Sam Darnold is going to do on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be what decides this game in Seattle, and they're having over a touchdown favorite. Crazy. They are a touchdown favorite. Touchdown favorite. I mean, they're probably going to try to run the ball all over established run. What was it in week 17? 13-3 was the final score, and that was in San Francisco, right? I believe I'm correct. But with that said, I mean, Sam Darnold is going to have to propel this offense. If they score, if they have 17 points, I don't see the defense allowing San Francisco to score 17 points, especially when those goals. I know Kyle Shanahan can scheme up with the best of them, but we saw what happened last time. Seattle wins this game, I think, comfortably, as long as we do not have a Sam Darnold implosion. And that's always possible, as we know. But that's that game. Obviously, I'm picking Seattle. When you look at Buffalo versus Denver, uh, this is going to be a very intriguing game. Sports on the Porch. Appreciate the follow. Broncos beating the Bills, Brian says. Right now, it is basically a pick 'em. The Broncos are minus 112. The Bills are minus 108. We saw the defense, the pass D especially, show up against the Jags last week, especially for Davis White. There's no Gabe Davis going into this game. What I'm curious to see is how Sean Payton can exploit the run game for one. We know Buffalo's run defense is one of the worst in the NFL. With that linebacker, we know Matt Milano was fast, but he does not have the speed that he used to have. And what is Evan Ingram going to do? I feel like Sean Payton is going to pick them apart on the offensive side of the ball, especially with Bo Nix. I know Bo Nix is in his second year, but he's proven everybody wrong the entire season. Then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, we saw how much Josh Allen got hit by the likes of that front four in Jacksonville. And then you go to the divisional round where the Broncos front four are even better than the Jags front four. Memphis says it'd be Bills versus Texas. Texas right there. Yeah, Texas is going to get to the game. But with the Broncos, the likes of Nick Benito, Zach Allen, I feel like they're going to wreak havoc on Josh Allen, who was already not 100% with injury going into the wild card game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then you add in the fact that he had the finger injury where he hit his helmet. He had the knee injury when he got bent back on the touchdown that he scored, and he went in for a concussion check, a neuro check early in the game. It was in the first quarter. No Gabe Davis. Defense, I don't think they're going to string back-to-back performances like they did against the Jags in the wild card round. And I feel like the Broncos just have too much weaponry, especially when they've been playing the entire season. They've played 13 one-score games. They're 11-2, and I mean, I just don't foresee a path for the Bills to win this game unless Josh Allen puts them on his back like he has many times before, and they win a high-scoring game. I mean, even if it's 27-24, but I just don't know that it's going to happen. We'll see. The run defense for the Denver Broncos. Obviously, I feel like their defense is taking a step back compared to where they were last year. But I think the Broncos come out with the victory in this game. When you look at their EPA allowed per rush, the Broncos this year, after being one of the top three in every category this year, they dropped to seven. So still decent. Bills or Broncos? Cole, I just got finished talking about it, and I think I'm going to go Broncos in this one. It's kind of a pick 'em with minus 112 for the Broncos, minus 108 for the Bills. 1.5 point spread, basically. Um, Rashawn Payton, they've had a week off. I just don't see the Bills being able to string back-to-back games. They've been too up and down in this 2025 season. James Cook was held in check last week versus the Jags, and I expect the same thing to extend this week. Again, the only way they win is if Josh Allen just puts the team on his back. But I think he's too banged up with the finger, knee, foot, and head injury that he sustained in the wild card round versus the Jags. Again, no Gabe Davis. They already have a very depleted wide receiver core. So if they get behind in this game, who's going to help alleviate these issues and bring them back? Who's going to be covering Khalil Shakir? We know that he played a huge role in the game versus the Jags. I mean, what did he end up having? His final stat line was 12 receptions on 12 targets for 82 yards. Who's going to be covering him in this game? It's a career high in receptions, so I don't expect to see the same thing. Is it going to be Riley Moss in the slot? Do they put Pat Surtain on Khalil Shakir and just let him shadow him the entire game? Also, those 12 receptions were the most by Bills wide receiver in franchise history. And his 12 receptions with 100% catch rate was the most by any player in a playoff game in playoff history. Um, Brian says, "How do you think JSN would do against PS2?" I think JSN wins that matchup. I mean, JSN will eventually get his. PS2 was Defensive Player of the Year, as we know, last year, but he's taken a step back, especially with the injury as well in 2025. But I think JSN still will easily put at least 75, 80 yards on 5 or 6 receptions and probably end up with a touchdown in that matchup. You can only hope to contain him. You can't stop him. So we have the Broncos, I think, getting the win at home. They've played extremely well, and the Bills have been too up and down for my liking in 2025. We've already spoke on the Seahawks and the Niners. The Seahawks are currently 7.5 point favorites. Um, Sam Darnold just has to play average for them to win. Adam, like I said, I spoke about it earlier. With the Seahawks, the defense is going to hold the Niners. If they still had the Niners still had George Kittle, there could be more of an argument. No, George Kittle obviously versus team, but this team is probably the most plug and play team in the NFL at any given point in time. Kendrick Bourne could walk. We've seen him do it against the Rams. We saw Demarcus Robinson have maybe the best game of his career last week versus the Eagles, and especially in coverage against Quinyon Mitchell. We know Juwan Jennings is probably wide receiver one. Is Ricky Pearsall going to be back? They still have pass weapons, especially when you have Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Um, but with that said, like I said, Sam Darnold just has to play average for them to be able to win this game. As long as he doesn't have an implosion like he did last year with the lack of offensive line that he had in Minnesota at the end of the season, the Seahawks should win this game. The defense is too good for the Niners to put up, 17 points or less is what I expect. Um, and I mean, the Seahawks should easily score that much against this Niners defense. Yeah, we're running on hopes and dreams. Yeah, Adam, I do believe that. If anybody could scheme it up to happen, it's Kyle Shanahan, but I think this is where it eventually is. If this team was healthy, I mean, a lot of teams could do this, but if the Niners were healthy, they would be a Super Bowl favorite easily. I mean, if they had Fred Warner back in this game, that would help tremendously. Uh, I think they said today that he was activated off of IR, but they're not expecting him to play this week. If they made it to the NFC Championship, there would be a chance for Fred Warner to play in that game. E3, let's talk about Bears and Rams. I mean, what I'm worried about for the Bears and their opportunities is the fact that they lost another linebacker, and appreciate that. Um, the Rams' biggest opportunity and what I expect to see is we know how terrible the Bears run defense is. They lost a linebacker in the wild card round against the Packers. Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, I expect to run crazy because of what are the Bears going to do? We already know their defense is one of the worst against the run. Let's see, when we look at the EPA allowed per rush, which is basically the efficiency rating. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Chicago is currently 23rd against the run. I don't expect much to change here. What are they going to do? They can't stack the box against Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. What they're already mad against them, like I said, they can't stack the box because if they stack the box, where are they going to leave Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, their DBs, single coverage on Puka Nacua in the back. I just don't know where the advantage is for this defense or where they can have an opportunity to succeed unless Caleb Williams puts up 30 plus points. And I don't know if that's going to happen, even though the Bears have a great offensive line. They're going up against the likes of their great Fisk, Puna Ford, others that I'm forgetting as well. But I mean, this front four, Byron Young. I mean, it's just they have so many players up front. They have Nate Landman at the linebacker position. And the secondary has been serviceable for the Rams. Barring we don't get an Atlanta Falcons performance from Matthew Stafford, which I do not expect against this Bears defense, they're going to be headed to the NFC Championship. I mean, the Bears, I'm telling you, they would have to score at least 30 points in order for them to have a chance. I mean, I know 30 is plausible, but I mean, it's a tall ask to do just on any given Sunday, especially in the playoffs. Antonio, let's see. Uh, Sam, go practice you. Seahawks, Bears for a trip to the Super Bowl. I don't think the Bears are going to win. I mean, currently, it's 3.5 point spread. I don't know what the weather is going to be like yet. Obviously cold, we know that in Chicago. But this is the Bears' first run. I mean, they obviously played well against the Packers, who imploded in the second half. But I feel like the playoff experience is also going to be a key advantage for the Rams. I mean, I just don't know where they exploit the Rams on the offensive side of the ball. When you look at the pass game, I mean, I don't know where the only area where the Bears have an advantage is when the Rams blitz the 24th in EPA allowed per pass, and the Bears are seventh against blitz. But how much are the Rams going to blitz? That's the issue. The run game, we know how efficient the run game is in Chicago. The run defense for the Los Angeles Rams is top 14. I mean, it's 14th, no, 13th in EPA allowed per rush. So I mean, they're not like exploitable, but is that what they do in this league? Not really sure. I'm going with the Rams for a chance to get to the NFC Championship against an NFC West team. Wiseman says, yeah, he's due for a good game. Any given Saturday, 49ers. Seahawks. Yeah, you're right. Rams D is suspect. I don't know about that one. Especially when they had the front four and all the talent they had there. On the season, they were 9th overall in EPA allowed per play. So that is, I mean, it's showing how efficient they were. Um, they were ninth against the pass. And then when you look at their front four fall off a little bit from last year. Potentially. I mean, they could have had more stats, obviously. Um, but they were number 5 in quarterback pressure rate. Yes, I know the Bears averaged 26. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like people have said, any given Sunday, anything's possible. I'm going Rams. And then we have the other Sunday game, the Houston Texans, whose defense is the best defense in the NFL. I posted a video today about how well they've been playing and how dominant they are. Um, there's no weakness on this defense. I mean, they are just stacked at every level. Front four, linebackers, back secondary. I mean, they just have no weaknesses. And what can New England do to exploit that? Honestly, I mean, this is the Seahawks and the Texans are kind of what and what on how they are comparable. Um, the Texans, if CJ Stroud cannot play any worse. He had 5 fumbles. He was the second player ever to have 5 or more fumbles in a playoff game and win it, along with Eli Manning. Great company. Um, Aaron Rodgers was held to the worst efficiency game in the last 10 years by a playoff quarterback, and the worst success rate by any offense in the last 10 seasons as well in the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw what eventually happened at the end of the game. The Texans offense will keep, as a Pats fan, I think the Texans offense will keep us in the game. Potential. CJ Stroud, especially with no meat, a big swing factor in this game is the fact that Nico Collins in uh, concussion protocol as well as Christian Gonzalez. Both of those play, that actually changes things. Um, if one plays and the other doesn't, especially if Nico Collins plays and no Christian Gonzalez, obviously advantage to the Houston Texans. But with that said, I mean, this defense is just going to get after Drake May. It's probably going to be who can get to 17 first. 20 maybe? A 20 to 14 final is coming for sure in this game. I mean, the over-under right now is currently 40 and a half. So that's around 2017. The Texans are, the Patriots are 3-point favorites. So with that said, I mean, I just really think the Texans defense is kind of like the 2015 Broncos when Peyton Manning struggled in the second half of that season. He played well at the beginning of that season, but in the second half he really struggled. And I feel like the Texans defense could do the same things that the 2015 Broncos did, where it just took them to the Super Bowl. Could we potentially get a Texans Seahawks Super Bowl? Absolutely. That depends on the quarterback play of CJ Stroud and Sam Darnold. I mean, we know what the defenses are going to do each and every week. Patriots defense hasn't even played top 10 defense. Texans will destroy them. Very solid play. When you look at the New England Patriots and their schedule this year, which of these the best defense that they play? Let's see, the Raiders, no, Dolphins, no, Steelers, no, Panthers, no, Bills, Saints was probably the best defense that they played because they finished the season around 12th because they played Titans, Browns, Falcons, Bucks, Jets, Bengals, Giants. None of those defenses, and then Bills, Ravens, Jets. But the Saints were probably the best defense that they played. They put up 25 points. That's week 6. We know how much the Saints defense came around as the season went on. This is by far the best defense that they played, no doubt. Rams are 6th in the Super Bowl. Very, very, very possible. So my picks to summarize for the divisional round, I have the Broncos and Sean Payton basically carrying this team, and the Bills not being able to string back-to-back victories in order to get past the Broncos. I have the Broncos winning that one because we know how banged up Josh Allen is as well. We know how suspect their run defense is, and Broncos in the first game of the divisional round. The second game, we have the Niners and the Seahawks. All Sam Darnold has to do is play an average game, and the defense is going to carry them. With that said, I have the Seahawks. They have the biggest spread in this weekend at -7.5. I know the Niners can plug and play almost any and every position, but eventually it's going to catch up to them, and they don't have George Kittle. So, with that said, I think the Seahawks win this. Game 3, Texans at the Patriots. The Texans defense is much better than through this game and potentially to the Super Bowl, and the Texans winning this one. As Rob said earlier, Patriots best defense they played all season was the Saints in Week 6. They put up 25 points. They're not doing that this week. If they get to 20, I'll be surprised they put up 15 against Jesse Minter and a lesser talented defense in the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers, so Lord only knows what they're going to do against the Texans. And in the final game, Sunday evening, we have the Rams and the Bears. The Bears, I spoke about earlier, I don't know where their advantage is in this game. And as long as Matthew Stafford doesn't play like he did against the Atlanta Falcons in week 17, was it on Monday Night Football? The Rams should win this easily. The Bears can't stack the box. We know they're not great against the run. Um, we know they're not great against the run. They lost a linebacker. They can't stack the box because if they stack the box, what are they going to do? One-on-one coverage against Devontae Adams and Puka Nakua. You're just going to eat them alive the entire game. I don't know unless the Bears score over 30, they don't have a chance. So with that said, that would be Broncos versus the Texans in the AFC Championship, and Seahawks and Rams yet again in the NFC Championship. And as of right now, when we stand here today, it's hard for me to pick against the Texans based on their defense because the likes of CJ Stroud can't play any worse than they played against the Steelers last night. And when you look at the NFC, Seahawks versus Rams, I just trust the Rams due to them having a front four. We both have a great front four, but their defense can be serviceable, and I trust Matthew Stafford in late game situations much more than I do Sam Darnold. So as of right now, we have a Rams Texans, which will be ready early in the night, I believe. Okay, so let's comment. Everybody, if you don't follow, here into the analytics side of football, hit that follow button. Obviously, for all the teams, not just one team have on Seahawks here tonight, but we switch it up every. I'm a Ravens at heart, but we know where they're at. He says Bears Bills Super Bowl incoming. I'm not a fan of either, but I feel like that is happening. I think it's good. I think they have the next to worst. The Bears have next to worst odds for the Super Bowl, but the Bills have the third best, I believe. Who's going to the Super Bowl? Earlier, I believe it right now. I have Rams and Texans. Broncos win. Yes, I think the Broncos win. Because Josh Allen's too banged up. The defense is one of the worst against the line. Sean Payton is going to exploit them and the linebacker group of the Buffalo Bills. Denver gets the advantage, and Josh Allen talks slow down. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, especially with Josh Allen. Seattle's not being the 49ers, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, unless Sam Darnold implodes, I think Seattle Seahawks win. And it's not out of the question that Darnold does choke, like you said. Broncos Rams Super Bowl wouldn't be surprising. Rams will lose against the Bears. I don't know. I don't know how the Bears exploit them, honestly. Ruben, appreciate the follow. Go Seahawks. What are you going to do if the Niners upset? I'm fine with it. I mean, I just have the Seahawks shirt on tonight. Like I said, I'm a Ravens fan at heart, but a fan of the game and have almost every team's shirt. We just switch it up every week. Hudson says it's going to be Niners Bills or Bears Bills. The Niners or Bears make it out of the NFC over the Rams and Seahawks. I would be extremely surprised. Being that they have, I think, worse than next to worst odds to win the Super Bowl right now. Let's see what else. Yeah, Scott, I agree with what you said. I don't think Josh can follow up what he did last week. Niners have the worst odds. Appreciate it. Rams versus Niners in the NFC Championship. I see Pat's going all the way. It's the first time I heard that. No one's really sold on the Patriots right now. Feel bad for them. I don't think the Rams beat Chicago. Why is that, Gigi? Why is that? Scott, I appreciate the follow. Stafford has to play in 10-degree weather. I mean, yeah, I'm not worried about that because the run game could really get going in this game. We know the Bears' run defense is the weakest part of this team, honestly, and they depend so much on turnovers. They had the most turnovers in the NFL, even though they were not the best efficiency-wise. That was really due to the number of turnovers that they had. So I think what are they going to do? They got to um, slide coverage kind of more to Puka Nakua. They can't leave anyone on Bears secondary. And then you also have Devontae Adams and Robert who is the second week on the hamstring injuries. So I feel a little more comfortable with that. So they can't stack the box. So expect the run game to be prevalent versus the Bears in this game with Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. And the Texans beat the Patriots. I do as well. The defense is going to carry the Texans for sure. Patriots, as someone pointed out earlier, hadn't played a top 10 defense all year. Looking at their schedule, the best defense they played was the Saints, because they were 12th. They played them in week 6. We weren't even playing at the top of their pedigree. Rams, 12 for 6. I think Pats lose to Houston. I agree. I agree. Pats, Rams, Super Bowl. I don't know if the Patriots are going to do it. Bears are nice on offense, and like I said, Hudson, I believe that for them to have any opportunity, they're going to put up there. 55-1 odds. Look, and quickly, he said only two teams were top 5 on offense and defense. What two are you talking about? Trying to read some of the comments. Yeah, the cold weather, as Andrew pointed out, they were one play away last week from beating Philly in one of the worst weather games of recent memory in the playoffs for sure. Yeah, Scott, like you said, Sam Darnold is the Hawks' biggest question. He doesn't even have to play at a top level. If he plays like an average quarterback, I mean, I think they're going to be hard to beat in the Super Bowl. Same goes for CJ Stroud and the Texans. Texans beat, yes, I believe so. I believe so. Arizona Rams. I don't know, Skylar. I don't know. I think Niners Seahawks will be close if they can keep some pressure on Darnold. Well, the problem with that is, yes, I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. The problem is, San Francisco 49ers had the fewest sacks in the regular season. I believe they finished the season with 19. It's basically one per game. And when you look at the other end of the spectrum, the Denver Broncos had 64 on the season. So while the Broncos have nearly 4 a game, the Niners have one. A huge difference. Um, I don't see them getting it. I don't think the Patriots score more than 20 either. Patriots aren't beating Houston's defense. It took them to the fourth quarter score touchdown versus Los Angeles. I agree. Jesse Minter is a great defensive coordinator, but the defense in Houston is more talented. I mean, they don't even have to scheme up anything. They're just so good at every level. They just dominate every how they want to. I mean, front four, Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter. Um, we're gonna show up and show out. Then you have the linebacker core, which is one of people's weaknesses. A lot of that defense is average at best. Then you have the secondary, Jalen Petrie, Kamari Lassiter, Derek Stingley, Bullock. I mean, it's just people everywhere. You get worried about the old guy, old one showing up, of course. Is he going to see ghosts? If he sees ghosts against the Niners, then they really have no chance. I would be really worried if Fred Warner were playing this week. If he is not playing for the report, even though he was activated off of the Bears and Rams. Yeah. I think that's it for tonight. Appreciate everybody stopping by. If you don't follow already, hit that follow button. Follow analytics based more with numbers saved and X's and O's. And post about everything. And we will see what happens this Saturday and Sunday. See who are we getting in the NFC and AFC championship. Big appreciate the follow. Hope your team wins, but someone's gonna win. Appreciate everybody.